Chapter 7. Learning to Speak. In the days after Julian's visit, something shifted permanently inside Clara. She realized that escaping the apartment wasn't enough. She had to escape the voice in her head too. Elias had spent years training her to be quiet, to agree, to apologize for existing, to never disagree or stand her ground. Now, Silas was teaching her that her voice mattered. That her opinions were valid. That she was valid. She started small. One afternoon, Mrs. Hale came in complaining that her pie was too sweet. In the old days, Clara would have apologized profusely, refunded her money, thrown the recipe away, and promised to change everything. This time, she took a breath, looked Mrs. Hale in the eye, and smiled gently. "I'm sorry it wasn't to your taste, Mrs. Hale. But that recipe was my mother's. It's sweet, yes, because she always said life is too short not to have a little sugar. If you prefer something less sweet, I have these oat cookies I think you'd love, warm, nutty, not too sweet at all." Silas, sitting in the corner fixing a loose chair leg, paused his work and looked up. A slow, proud smile spread across his face. Later, when Mrs. Hale left with a bag of cookies and a laugh, Silas walked over to the counter. "You used your voice," he said, as if it was a magic trick he had just witnessed. Clara wiped her hands on her apron, feeling lighter than air. "I did. It was scary. Good things usually are," Silas replied. He leaned against the counter, closer than he usually stood. "You know, you're not just baking bread here, Clara. You're building yourself back up. Piece by piece. Just like I build a house. You had to tear down the old, rotten structure first, the lies, the fear, the voice that told you you weren't enough. Now you're putting up something new. Something solid. Something that belongs only to you." He reached out, his hand hovering near hers for a second before he gently brushed a speck of flour from her cheek. The touch was so soft, so unexpected, that Clara's breath caught. "You're strong," he whispered. "Stronger than you know. And every day, you get stronger." She looked at him, really looked at him. She saw the way his dark eyes softened when he looked at her. She saw the way he always made sure she was safe. She realized that Silas didn't just see the baker, or the woman who needed help. He saw her. All of her. And suddenly, she understood her own heart. She wasn't just grateful to Silas. She wasn't just comfortable with him. She was falling in love with him. And for the first time in her life, falling didn't feel like losing control. It felt like finally landing safely. Chapter 8. Two Souls with the Same Scars. Clara realized she knew very little about Silas. He was always there, steady, reliable, quiet, but he never spoke about his life before Maple Creek, or why he lived alone in a small cottage at the edge of town, or why he seemed to guard his heart so fiercely. Curious, but respectful, she asked Mrs. Hale one morning while they were arranging flowers. "Ah, Silas," Mrs. Hale sighed, her hands moving gently among the roses. "He came here about 5 years ago. Just like you, running from something. He was engaged once, you know. To a girl from the city. Beautiful, ambitious, wanted a big life. She left him 3 months before the wedding. Left him a note saying that a man who works with his hands, who likes quiet and simple things, would never be enough for her. That he was too rough, too quiet, too ordinary." Clara's breath caught. Her heart ached. "She broke him right in two," Mrs. Hale continued softly. "He closed himself off. Built walls around himself just like he builds walls for houses, thick, high, and impossible to get through. Everyone in town loves him, respects him, but nobody gets close. Until now, I think." Clara stood still, stunned. "He understands," she realized with a jolt. "He knows exactly what it feels like to be told you aren't enough. To be discarded because you don't fit someone else's idea of perfect." That evening, she stayed late, waiting for him to finish repairing the back door. When he put down his tools, she offered him 2 mugs of warm apple cider and a slice of cinnamon cake. They sat together on the wooden steps outside the shop, looking out at the quiet street, lit only by lantern light and stars. "I heard you were engaged once," Clara said softly, careful not to push. "Mrs. Hale told me." Silas was quiet for a long time, staring into the steam rising from his mug. His jaw tightened, and for a moment, she thought he would get up and leave. "I was," he said finally, his voice rough. "Her name was Vanessa. We grew up together. I thought we had forever planned. I was building a house for us. Right here in town. Big kitchen, porch swing, room for kids." He looked out into the dark. "She left me a letter on the workbench. Said she couldn't do it. Said she needed more. That I was too quiet, too boring, too focused on wood and nails and simple things. She said I'd never amount to anything important. That I was just a toolmaker. Good for fixing things, but never worth keeping." He turned to Clara then, his eyes dark and honest, full of pain she had never seen before. "I spent years believing her, Clara. I spent years thinking there was something wrong with me. That my quiet nature was a flaw. That my love wasn't enough because I didn't express it the way they wanted, with big words and expensive gifts and fancy dinners. I thought I was just a broken tool, only good for fixing other people's houses, never worth building a life with." He reached over and covered her hand with his large, warm one. "But then you came. You looked at my rough hands and my silence and my dusty clothes, and you gave me cookies. You talked to me like I mattered. You treated me like I was solid, like I was safe, like I was enough. And for the first time in a long time, I started to feel like maybe I wasn't broken after all." Clara squeezed his hand, tears in her eyes. "You were never broken, Silas. You were just waiting for someone who appreciated the solid, strong, beautiful things you build. Including yourself. You were enough. You have always been enough."